good.
Welcome, everybody. It's Ted Dromo. This is Social Selling TV, and I've never done this live. We've always done it recorded, and so I could polish it up. But I said, what the hell? We got to make this Facebook Live stuff work, and we're just going to figure it out. So today's guest is Sandra Possing, and as I mentioned in my email, we met, gosh, it was 2008. It was like
forever
meetup in San Francisco. And we kind of kept in touch over the years. You became a coach. I was already a coach. And we've just become good friends. And we hang out and have lunch once in a while. And we're way overdue for a lunch.
Yep.
But welcome, Sandra.
Thank you for having me. For those of you who read his email, in addition to being friends and sort of colleagues from afar, I also consider Ted to be kind of like my guardian angel. He's been one of the most committed and consistent supporters of me and my business and my path for as long as I've been on it. So really happy to be here.
Hey, so let's just kind of go back to, you were working for some startup, I think, when we met. And your whole journey, you've just been going, and now you've got Unleash Your Inner Badass group on Facebook. You traveled the world for years. Let's go back to your travel. You got married and traveled the world, just walked away from it all.
Yeah, so just a quick recap of, I guess, the last year. My husband, Chris, and I got married last May in 2016. And then instead of, a 2-week honeymoon, we thought, okay, so we've spent a bunch of time in San Francisco. We both love to travel. I have a mobile business. Let's just go for it. And so we planned it out, and we're thinking maybe approximately a year. We ended up going for about 10 months, and we hit 11 countries in 10 months, and I was working the whole time. So tested the theory of, can I really do this whole digital nomad thing? Is it possible to run a business while on the road? It definitely had its challenges, and I grew a lot thanks to those challenges, but it was awesome, really awesome experience. And it's a big part of my whole thing is all about freedom. So having that kind of location freedom and time freedom to be able to do that is really important.
So being an outsider, peering in on your world from the social media level, you just blew my mind, because I know when I got certified as a coach, I didn't know how to start a practice. And you've been working on that for years, and you had some good momentum going. And then you said, what the hell? I'm just going to go travel for a year. How did you do that?
It was interesting. I mean, I'm no marketing expert, and yet I've realized along the way, even before I started this business, I was always kind of interested and intrigued by marketing, and I was terrified of sales, but I loved marketing, and I would kind of poke around to learn a little bit here and there. I had a couple of businesses before this one. I had a personal training business and a social media consulting business way back in the day. And so even back when I was doing those things, I was seeing the power of not just marketing in general, obviously, but social media specifically. And it kind of fit with my personality. I'm a little bit of an oversharer anyway. So I was just like, I'm going to document everything. And then that aligned really well with, trying to have a business and be a little bit more visible. So again, it's like, I'm not an expert. I find role models who I like what they're doing and who are living lives that I look up to, and I try to learn from them. And I also try to experiment a lot. I've done plenty of things that have gone absolutely nowhere, lots of failures under my belt. But it's been fun to kind of see what works and what doesn't work, and then keep up with the trends and how things are changing. I love the fact that video is big right now, having a lot of fun with that. And, going on the road, it was a lot of the same stuff. It was like my business kind of looked almost exactly the same on the road as it did when I was fairly stable in San Francisco. There were just a few more things like navigating time zones and finding good enough Wi-Fi that were interesting. And I realized it was easy to maintain the business, but it was hard to grow the business the way I had been doing prior to our trip. So that was eye-opening too. And now that I'm back home, I'm in like grow the business mode.
Right. No, it was great watching you. And what I tell you about a year ago, you just start doing those daily videos, and you're like, no, I'm not ready for that.
And now I'm obsessed with video.
Yeah.
I was warning people on Facebook yesterday. I think it was last night or something. I was getting all excited because I'm launching my program today. And I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. Like, if you don't like to see people promoting their business, or if you're not into positivity, you should probably unfollow me right now, because I'm going to be very vocal for the next 3 weeks while I'm promoting this thing. So,
Right.
you've been warned.
Yep. So what's this whole thing? Why do you want this freedom so badly? Like your whole life, since I've known you for, gosh, 10 years now.
So freedom to me means a lot of different things. Probably, I love making up statistics. I don't know, 78% of the time when I'm talking about freedom, I'm talking about emotional freedom. I'm talking about personal empowerment, personal power. And I love the other kinds of freedom too. So as most entrepreneurs who don't just love what they do, but love the lifestyle that can come along with it. If you play your cards right, and if you find a way to make it work, we can have a lot of time freedom and financial freedom and location freedom. Those types of freedom are a smaller part of what I do as business, but they're a huge part of my lifestyle. I mean, looking back now, like, I would say I'm like 100% unemployable. There's absolutely no way I could go and work for somebody and be told what to wear. I'm in jeans and a tank top, which is like dressed up for me because I'm normally wearing yoga pants. I would not be able to I couldn't just go to a place where I had to be there from 9 to 5 and have somebody tell me what to do. And so I love the freedom that comes along with being my own boss and being able to not just travel for fun like we did last year, but to travel to see my family. I was born in Sweden, and my entire biological family, except for my mom, are all still in Sweden or Denmark. And I have a bunch of step family here and stuff. So it's like, if I want to be able to spend time with family, which is really important to me, I have to have more than 2 weeks of vacation a year. So I realized pretty early on that the kind of mainstream American dream corporate route was never going to work for me. So the time is a huge part of that, and being location independent, being able to work from anywhere. I mean, if I'm feeling fancy, I can put on a business suit and go downtown and go to a coffee shop and a co-working space and, work downtown. But most days I prefer to be at home or in a coffee shop or, wherever I happen to be on some beach somewhere. So all those different kinds of freedom it's one of my core values. It's what my life purpose is all about. It's kind of like the foundation of everything I do, what I want, and it's what I want for everyone else. I want people to experience their own kind of freedom, whatever that means to them, which may look nothing like mine. My life may be somebody else's worst nightmare, but for some people, maybe it's just about having more freedom to spend time with their kids, or having more freedom to pursue their artistic passions, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Oh, I'm all about the freedom too, I'll tell you.
Yes.
I walked away from my career because I never saw my kids. So I just started consulting, and I never looked back. I was like, I got to go on the field trips with the kids, and I was like one of the dads. It's always the moms driving on the field trips, and I was the only dad.
That's awesome.
I wanted to be with my kids growing up, and I'm glad I realized that early on.
Yeah.
I got the best compliment yesterday. I was talking to Perry Marshall. He goes, "You take more vacations than anybody I know." I was like,
yes, I do.
That's the life I designed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do people design this lifestyle?
So that's the great part, is that in my mind, there's no right or wrong path. There's no exact formula. There are certainly some proven, tried and tested formulas out there that can work for a lot of people. What I really believe, though, is that the path to freedom, if you will, is so personal, and there's a million different ways to get there. And what's cool is you get to design your own path that works for you. And I'm a huge part of my business is helping people with authenticity. When I talk about badassery and everything, it just comes down to being who you are and owning that, which of course it's hard to do that if you don't know who you are. And I think a lot of us along the way, through conditioning and expectations and pressures from family and friends and society or whatever, we start living these lives of kind of what we think we should be doing and who we think we are supposed to be. And we're like trying to play by all the rules, and we lose touch with who we are. So I think a really important part of the path to freedom is just figuring out, who am I? What is actually most important to me? What do I find meaningful? Not just like, what's my passion and purpose and how can I go do something that fills me up, but what do I care most about, just like foundationally speaking? And the more clarity people have on that, the more they're able to take action and make choices and navigate real life situations and like steer their life in an intentional way, as opposed to just sort of like reacting defensively to whatever life happens to throw your way, which unfortunately I think is the way that a lot of us are sort of groomed to live our lives.
Yeah. Isn't coaching great though? It's like an addiction. Once you start having some breakthroughs with clients, it's like, I want more.
I mean, I feel like sometimes I have to sort of check myself because, you know, I don't want to get to a place where I'm like super preachy and telling that, because not everybody should be a coach, right? It's not the right fit for everyone, but for people who love people and for people who love helping people, it's just such an amazing industry, and it's so malleable, right? You can be, you know, it's not just all about life coaches. You can be a career coach, you can be an executive coach, you can be a health coach, you can be I mean, the most amazing, like specialized, narrow, specific niches, or which I can never decide which way I'm pronouncing it, are out there, right? Like I have one friend who's a parenting coach who specifically works with parents to talk to their kids about sex, which is like such a great specific thing, right? And none of us, when we were in school or trying to figure out what we want to be when we grew up, you know, looked at options like that. And yet coaching is just, it's not even like a career path. It's just a modality. It's just a way of showing up, a way of interacting with other humans that you can layer on top of whatever your expertise or whatever your life experience, your own challenges and struggles is, and then you can help people. So,
yeah. I come across that all the time. I'm helping people with their LinkedIn profile say, what do you really love to do? Or what are you good at? And they're like, I don't know. They don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So what kind of people do you work with?
So that has been one of the most interesting and most frustrating questions that I've sort of battled with my entire career, in this career. It's the last 5 years when I've had this business. And because it's really tempting to want to have something super clear, like, you know, I work with only female engineers, or I work with postpartum moms, or I work with I don't know, people with addictions, right? It's like there's so many specific demographics you could target, but my people, the people I'm most drawn to working with, and I think this is true for a lot of us, is it's basically me, right? A lot of us, we find that we do our best work with people who are going through the same things that we've gone through. And so when I look at my background and my own challenges and things, there's not like some super clear demographic that I can smack a label, you know, a fancy marketing label onto,
Right.
call it a day. So instead, it's more of this kind of intangible set of qualities that I look for. It's not specifically men or women. It's not a specific age group or profession. What it is people who, on the one hand, they're like rebels and misfits and nonconformists. They're people who want to kind of break the rules and challenge the status quo and are not satisfied with like a mainstream life. And they want to blaze their own trail, you know, live life on their own terms. However, that's kind of where I get them. A lot of them haven't really tapped into that part of themselves yet, which makes it even harder to speak to those people, right? Because a lot of them are still stuck in an old paradigm that no longer fits them, but they haven't really discovered the part of themselves that is a rule breaker. So it's it's a challenge, and it's one of my favorite things. Like when I help someone through a journey of many months find their inner badass and find that rebel, find that person who's willing to actually step up and say, this is, you know what, screw it. This is my life. I want to do things my own way. I don't want to just play by the rules anymore.
Yeah.
That's the biggest rush and success for me is when I introduce someone to that version of themselves.
And what are the rules anyway these days? Now, everything is kind of just up in the air right now.
There kind of are no rules anymore.
Now, with the job market the way it is, companies just use you and then they lay you off, and everybody seems to be always looking for a job these days. So,
and things are changing so quickly with the internet, and not just, you know, you can work online, but it's like even big companies are starting to realize, hey, it's actually maybe smarter and more efficient, more economical for us to have a remote workforce, or to let people work from home, and then we don't have to supply all the office stuff and benefits. And so, I mean, I think we're living in a very quickly changing space, and the more that we can be not just flexible and adaptable and willing to kind of play along and do things in new and different ways and learn new things. But while we're at it, we may as well be doing something that's aligned with who we are, that's an expression of what we believe, what's meaningful, and what lights us up.
Yeah. Now, I was lucky in my high-tech career for 20 years. I loved every minute of it. And then that ended with the dot-com crash. So I just had to
Reinvent
transition
yourself.
to something. So then I
Yeah.
fell into coaching, and it's just awesome.
And that's
So,
another great part of being an entrepreneur too. I mean, I think about that every now and then. I'm like, coaching right now is a booming industry, and we don't know where it's going to go. 2 years from now, the whole thing something could change drastically, and coaching could no longer be a thing. And yet, at this point, after 5 years as an entrepreneur, I feel completely confident that no matter what happens, I'll figure it out. If I have to totally change my business model to something different, I'm going to find a different way to express who I am and make a viable business out of it.
yeah, because now you have this whole skill set that you've developed through coaching yourself and going through the coaching training and coaching people.
And I see so many of my colleagues from afar and close by who maybe not even because some huge cultural shift or something or technology crash or whatever, they kind of like, for example, there's a woman in my industry who was very successful and had this massive network. And then she just kind of felt like she was done with that. So then she just sort of closed shop and took a few months off and stepped back. And then recently had the inspiration for her next business baby and just launched this whole new thing, which is totally different than what she was doing before. But she's always had this massive network of adoring fans who will just basically sign up for whatever she puts out there.
Yeah.
Fascinating to watch.
So what was the turning point that made you change from what were you doing before coaching?
Oh God. It's so many different random things. Everything from, my first kind of real jobs were, I was IT recruiting for a while, which was fun because I got to talk to nerds on the phone and I love nerds. I was in finance for a while, which is like so hard for me to believe. I was selling life insurance and disability and all that kind of stuff, which is like, makes no sense. And I'm still grateful I did it because now I have a serious appreciation for that stuff and the importance of it.
Yeah.
I worked for several startups. 2 were in the music tech space. One was in the fitness space. One was in kind of the, like an accelerator for other startups space. I did plenty of bartending and serving and that kind of stuff. I dabbled in all sorts of other random things on the side. But the biggest chapter or the longest chapter of my career before the coaching one was fitness. And that was about 6 or 7 years. I think I was teaching boot camp classes and doing personal training. And that was actually a great chapter leading up to this one because it was the closest I had ever been to something that felt like it. I knew that fitness wasn't the vehicle. I kind of didn't care about the exercise science and the anatomy and all that, but I knew there was something about introducing people to their inner athlete and helping them find their actual physical strength because it gave them so much confidence. And then I realized that I want to do that, but just through something else other than physical activity.
Right. You're so passionate about everything you do. I love watching. When you were training people, you were posting on social media, and now with your coaching, it's awesome. So you have a new program coming up, right?
I do. And thank you for letting me use this forum as the place to announce it. I've been thinking about it for a very long time. This is something that I've been wanting to do for, I don't know, years. And I've been working on it for a long time. And I'm finally, it doesn't start until September, but I was going to announce it right around this time anyway. And so when we decided to do this, I was like, perfect. We'll just splash it all over this interview.
Nice. So tell me about the program. It's a group coaching?
It's a group coaching program. Yeah. So it's a 6-week online group program with me. Very similar, I guess, to anybody who's familiar with my work, who's been following along kind of the work that I do with people one-on-one. It's similar, but in a group setting, which for anyone who's done any sort of group program or mastermind, or even just taken a class that had a huge impact on you, you'll know that being in community while learning new things and while working on yourself can be so powerful. I mean, that's one of the things that I attribute so much of my success and my sanity to the last few years is having communities that I trust and people I can look to as my peers and, shoulders to cry on and people to vent to and people to look to for support and inspiration. So I really wanted to set up, the one-on-one stuff is great. I love it. I'll probably never give it up, but I also wanted to offer a structure where people have peer engagement too, because it really makes such a difference. So it's 6 weeks. It's called Unleashed, which is just a take on my kind of bigger concept that I've used a lot of times, which is unleash your inner badass.
Your brand.
Another one of my yeah, one of my brands, I don't know. So it's called Unleashed, and it's kind of a way for people to experience the work that I do on a smaller scale that's easy to say yes to, right? Like next year, I want to launch a much longer program, more of a mastermind type of structure. And when I work one-on-one with people, it's a long commitment and it's expensive. So for people who either one of those options is just not feasible right now, a 6-week program might be a good fit as a way to kind of get introduced. It's a great fit for somebody who's relatively new to personal development, but who feels like they're kind of sick of listening to their own excuses. Maybe they struggle with fear and insecurity and self-doubt. It's definitely designed for people like me who have struggled with people pleasing or perfectionism, or any sort of holding back, censoring yourself, not being able to comfortably just let go and speak your truth. So anybody who's struggling with that stuff, it's designed to kind of take you through a journey of identifying what some of those things are that hold you back, help you figure out how to let go of them, really connect back to who you are and what's most important to you. And then we'll start looking ahead into the future a little bit about what the heck you actually want, kind of what's your dream. We're going to talk about things like fear and failure, which are, like the roadblocks that stop most of us from moving forward towards the things that we actually want.
Yeah.
We're talking about things like bold self-expression and how to have kind of a fearless confidence. And, so really what I want people, like when I say unleashed, what I mean is, when you walk into a room or when you're in a room and somebody walks in and they just have that like spark, they have an energy about them, they have an aura, and it's not arrogance, right? It's not any sort of superior thing. It's just this amazing kind of grounded confidence. Yeah. And you're like, I want to be around them. I want to be them. I want to be with them. There's like, you're just so magnetically drawn to the person because they have this presence.
Right.
In the leadership world or in the corporate world, they might refer to it as executive presence. You can call it a lot of different things, charisma. That's what I want to unleash in people. Is I want to take people who are like, playing it safe, playing small. I want to take them through this process and have them come out of it feeling like they've been released from their own cage, and to feel that kind of personal power and confidence of that person who walks in the room who is just magnetic.
But I know you do it in a safe environment too, because that's what we learned in our coaching.
Yep. Yeah. And that's really important. There's agreements that are made, and there's a space and a container that are held where it's a very safe and non-judgmental space. Obviously, a big part of that is my job, but it's also the job of all the people who join to help create that space. And, I want this to be a program where people are not just like sitting there listening to me talk at them. It's a very interactive, kind of like, a fireside campsite kind of cozy feel where everybody gets a chance to share, and we can all witness each other in our growth and support each other and cheer each other on and all that good stuff. So
you're going to meet weekly? Is it online? And then
it's all online. It's weekly. It officially starts on September 12th, but the doors are open as of now, I guess. After I get off this call, I'll be starting to put things out, trickle things out online, and I'll be promoting it a lot for the next 3 weeks.
Right.
We officially start on Tuesday, September 12th, and it runs for 6 weeks, and it's going to be amazing.
Okay. I think we can put a little link in the chat room. If anybody has questions too, go ahead and type them in. So if I join this coaching program, how could you help me?
You specifically?
Yeah.
Oh, you're beyond help, Ted. Well, it would depend on what you or whoever was in your position is exactly looking to work on. It's designed to be sort of flexible depending on where people are at. So for somebody like you who's done tons of personal development work, right? Someone like me, I've been obsessed with this stuff for the last decade, if not 2, reading self-help books since I was as long as I can remember. I would still sign up for this program with the angle of deepening and more mastery. That's one of the things that I cherish that I learned from one of my previous coaches was that you can keep coming back to the same things over and over again and achieve deeper levels of mastery. I think one of the hugest hurdles that prevent us from growing as humans is having the attitude of, oh, I already know this.
Right.
You know, I've read all the books. Like, I feel like I actually have read all the books twice, right? And yet I would go into a program like this, even though it does have a like kind of a slight foundational or basic kind of slant, because I know that the stuff that we're going to be talking about still applies to me. And even if I've worked through several layers of it, there's still deepening to go. And what I'm also going to do in this program is kind of set it up so that there's people who did my social media challenge a couple months ago, there would always be extra credit, like for advanced people who wanted to go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
So somebody who's brand new to personal development has no idea kind of what any of this stuff means. It'll be very approachable for them, digestible. And then for people who kind of been around the block a few times, who want to go a little bit deeper, they can sort of breeze through the initial stuff, and they'll have some extra credit homework and things to do to take it to the next level. Yeah.
No, I discovered personal development 20 years ago, probably. I was at Cellular One, and they used to bring in coaches. And I was totally new to it all. And it just really resonated with me because I was so stressed in my job. I was working like 80 hours a week. I was just 6-7 days a week. That's, I think, when you really need it and you're really aware of it.
Yeah.
That's my life is. Well, aren't you fixed yet? You listen to that stuff all the time. You're always reading something.
Oh my gosh, I know. My husband says the same thing. He'll see me, listening to something on Audible or reading something on Kindle or whatever. I'm mostly digital these days because of travel. And he's like, oh, what are you reading? And I tell him I'm all excited about some new book I've got on, entrepreneurship or personal development or leadership or something. And he's like, haven't you either read that or read like 20 books like it? I'm like, I haven't read this, but it's similar, but there's like this different angle and there's all these different layers. And, you can never learn this one lesson enough times and stuff. And it's like, you can't get enough.
Right. No, you always pick up one little tidbit here or there. It comes at the right time. Even if you read the same book over and over, you'll just see different things each time you read it.
And that's the thing in a program like this, people, it's intended for the participants to get out of it what they need out of it. There is, because it's a group program and not one-on-one, it won't be as customized as when I'm working with somebody individually, but it's meant to be like, here's the content, and then they can take from it what they need from it, and then they can ask specifically for what they need and get support from their peers, and also laser and more customized help from me. Everybody gets a single session with me throughout the program, and of course there's lots of back and forth in the Facebook group and all that kind of stuff too. Awesome. So it really is, it's accessible at different levels. And wherever somebody starts, after 6 weeks, I want to have them up at the next level of whatever that means for their personal or professional development, and unleashed in a way where they feel just more alive, more awake, and more free, and like they have tools and strategies to get them even to the next level after that.
Yeah. I just started a group coaching program a few months ago. I've been thinking about it for years too. It's been amazing because everybody just works together too. You get the group energy. It's going to be awesome. So we go to unleashyourinnerbadass.com/unleashed-course.
Yes.
And I'll put links in the replay of this.
Yeah, so if you didn't memorize that URL.
I can crash it right now. Seems to be working. So if anybody has any questions, they can type them in. I see Kevin mentioned a few things. So how else can people get in touch with you?
So the easiest way to find me is honestly just to Google my name, Sandra Possing, Sandra Possing. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one of me anywhere. It's kind of a unique name. So I'm easy to find. My website, sandrapossing.com, has lots of different ways to find me. And then I'm on all the social media mostly, except for Snapchat. Technically I'm on there, but I don't use it. I think it's like, I have to have like 12-year-olds explain it to me. But
yeah.
Facebook is where I spend most of my time. That's a great way to get in touch with me too, through my business page, or join my Facebook group, which is called Freedom and Badassery. Or just track me down to my website, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, your Facebook group is cool. I like it.
It's a lot of fun.
I like that you're challenging everybody every day.
I ask a lot of intrusive questions, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and you're always challenging yourself, and working out or whatever it is. You're so passionate about everything you do.
As like I was saying before, I've always kind of been an oversharer. So I try to use that in a strategic way too. And, I'm talking about a lot of this stuff and working on things with my clients, but it's really important to me to be in integrity and to be walking my talk and practicing when I preach. So I'm like, that's something I've been committing to more the last few days too. I was just saying very publicly that, as I'm getting ready to promote this program, I want to push myself to be spending more time out of my comfort zone and doing things that are uncomfortable, sharing even more vulnerably, risking the TMI zone too.
So what's that next level for you?
Oh gosh.
How does your coach push you?
So much of it right now, it's funny because it's like everything that I teach and that I support people on is a lot of the same stuff that I've been working on. And, when I'm working with people here, I have to try to stay a few steps ahead. And part of the way that I'm growing myself in order to grow my business right now is to really set an example of being unapologetically you, and daring to be vulnerable and sharing things that are not I was a total perfectionist. So for me to share things that are, this is all the bad stuff and this is all the less polished stuff, that's edgy for me and I like it. And just speaking up, I've always liked to play it safe and be the peacekeeper and the nice girl. And so for me to risk disappointing somebody, or to risk bothering someone, or to risk even pissing somebody off, has always been way out of my comfort zone. So a lot of it is taking that to the next level. A lot of it has to do with my voice. Anybody who's into chakra system stuff, like the throat chakra stuff of not holding back and just speaking your truth, is a big part of the arena that I'm playing in right now.
Awesome. I can't wait. Yeah.
Wish me luck.
Well, Sandra, thanks for your time. This has been awesome.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So you want to go to unleashyourinnerbadass.com/unleash-course, and I'll put it all in the show notes and stuff.
Yep. And when in doubt, just find me online and hunt me down somehow, and I'll get right back to you.
Cool. We'll have to do some lunch too.
Yes, please.
Okay. Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.